Hello, it's the YouTuber once again with the most weirdest schedule when it comes to making videos. And I am back with another video idea of the adventures of Indiana Jones. Now we about last year ago they released a new Indiana Jones video game and I very much like it. And that's considering the company that made it. Bethesda has said that they might make more indie games, but nothing truly set in stone. And waiting out today is the day they release the sequel Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I will go over my ideas of what they for a new indie game that they should make. And also, this is less about the mechanics and more about the story, just because I'm much more know about making stories than I do about making general video games. But yeah, so this will be mostly about it. This will be mostly my idea for how to make an indie video game, and so this is how I would make a sequel to. And also, this video will mostly go over Indiana Jones and Great Circle, the game without new DLC, just because I haven't played it. And I will be going over, and I will be making a video if I have about the Order of the Giants if I have a chance to play it. That's considering this will be mob. And this is how I would make. And also this video will go into another idea for indie video game, but it's less of an original idea and more of a kind of recycling, but I will go into that later on. And that's considering I won't be going over any of the Lego Indiana Jones video games on this video. I think they should just do what they're gonna do with the new Lego Batman game they announced, and basically just make a Lego Indiana Jones, but basically just Skywalker Saga, basically just do that. So yeah, but I won't be going over that, and will be mostly making this video will be mostly will be mostly about Great Circle, and that's considering and this is how I would make a Great Circle's sequel. Now, Great Circle took us all over the world, and the two ideas I did decide to more turn it back into one place. Now, I know a lot of people won't really like this idea, but I decided why not. And both of these ideas kind of keep saying kind of introduce an old enemy of indies and introduce a new one. And both of these are mostly just basically in Europe, just because I don't really find an idea that would have indie go around the world with enemies. So yeah, but that's considering this is the idea I have for indie, and for a sequel to Indiana Jones and Great Circle, and that's we'll kind of keep the idea of what Great Circle decided to introduce by having Indy face off against the Italian fascists in the early 1940s before World War II, and we'll have Indy go to new places and have Indy find no artifact. And this false idea I came up with would be Indiana Jones and and the Legend of Excalibur. And it would be Indiana Jones trying to find the Sword in the Stone. Just because Indy finding the Sword in the Stone is one of the old ideas for any movie I generally like. And that's considering I don't want them to steal no idea from me, from standard indie media, mostly. And that's considering this can steal. And he can, but now again, who would be the bad guys trying to get Excalibur from Indy? That would be the British Union of Fascists, a general fascist group in the 1930s that was headed by Oswald Mosley. Now it was very unpopular even during the 30s because it was seen as the unorthodox part. But now again, I could, and that's considering Indy can fight these new guys. That's kind of like what he did against Baxters in the game. But I can see some complaints, such as it would be mostly set place in the UK or Ireland, if they can, or maybe some parts of the Irish maybe, but it would be mostly set place in the UK. And I have come up with no idea, but it's still mostly in one place. That would be the Philosopher's Stone, and wouldn't how the Philosopher's Stone is much more of it's generally much more something out of mythology, but you could still try and yet mystical, and you could still generally have it be essentially level, but probably mostly in Europe, and you can still have, and it's basically just have the Nazis do what they always do in anything, try and find something weird and mysterious and may or may not be real, and try and take over the world. Was something good within the end. Jones always stops them, and it just devolves into God killing them. Two of the 5 indie movies have God kills Nazis. But that's considering this is just the sequel idea for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And I can see all ideas, and this was just one I came off from my head. Now again, the old game idea is something a lot more less original, but something a lot more kind of like the idea of what Jurassic Park did with the classic Jurassic Park games collection. Kind of do that, but within the kind of old games and on a new system, just because a lot of people still like those old Jurassic Park games, and a lot of people still like those old indie games. So, increase Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine and have it, and you can get Indiana Jones, the Infernal Machine, Emperor's Tomb, and Indiana Jones, and Staff of Kings, all on a new system, and maybe even add some older games from. I know it'd be weird, but maybe if they could try and get Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis on it. I know that was much more of a computer game, and there was at least a console version of Infernal Machine, but maybe it could work. But still, or you could get the Super Nintendo Indiana Jones Greatest Adventures, and you can also get, and that considering I just been playing Indiana Jones and Emperor's Tomb for the longest time, just because I remember growing up with playthroughs of that video game as a kid. But I have no console to generally play that on, even though it's been on Xbox, but it's a case from earlier that I generally didn't download it. But yeah, that's just my ideas for how they can make new Indiana Jones video games. Now they're all probably more ideas out there, but those are just the two I came up with, just because I don't really consider myself I wouldn't really consider myself a video game guy, and whenever there is a video game, it's either generally to a franchise I generally like that spends most time, just because, like, the only two games off my top of my head that I probably spent most time with has been Great Circle and like a Star Wars Skywalker Saga. So, like, it's usually franchises I generally like. But yeah, but yeah, that's just my idea for how they can continue Indiana Jones in video game form. And that's considering there will be other adventures with India if they decide to more expand the media. And that's considering what my ideas I about this franchise to move it forward. But those are just for now when it comes to these adventures with Indiana Jones. And that's, so that's considering they might go with a different idea either way of how they make a new Indiana Jones video game. But that's just for now. So from the adventure with Indiana Jones. So see later, archaeologists, fortune go. See you later, archaeologists, adventurers, and whoever else. God bless and fortune and glory.